By the way, for the HTML forms, gusto ko lang balikan yung mga special inputs natin, special form elements, and the input types. So as of HTML version 5, we already have additional input elements or input types. So one of them is the data list, which is which is used to create some search suggestions or input suggestions for field. And then for the input type, so we also have special input types in HTML5 like the color, date, time local, email, file is present in HTML4. Then we have image, month, number, range, search, we have telephone number, type, URL, and weight. So these are special input types that you can create, and they have a special presentation in different devices. Like for example, using input type date has a different presentation in desktop and in mobile devices. And it depends on the browser that you are using. They might be showing a different interface. So, for example, your input type date will show you a spinner for mobile devices like your Android browsers, Chrome browsers. They will present a spinner. Whereas in desktop, they will show a date picker. So just in case you will be using this in your project later on for finals, or can even be your thesis or any apps that you are creating. So ganito yung itsura niya. So instead of just using input type text, we have a special input types for different data types. Okay? And they can be validated. They can be there's a default browser validation for these fields. Like for example, you put input type date, you cannot just type any characters. Okay, and then if for example you create a number, see here that you have a spinner for numbers. Okay, so for number you can set the increment the step. For example, we can set the increment to 5. So once, okay, once we set the step to 5, for example, once we click the arrow up, it will be incremented by 5. So yeah, these are some of the useful types HTML elements, form elements that we can use so that we can have validation faster. Instead of validating all of your fields through JavaScript, pwede rin natin gamitin itong mga special fields na to. Okay? Now I want to start discussing about JavaScript. So, the definition or the description, JavaScript is the world's most popular programming language. JavaScript is the programming language of the web. It's easy to learn. Although it says here that it's a programming language, but most of websites or they claim it that JavaScript is a scripting language and not a full-fledged programming language. So meaning it lacks the capability of a programming language like file access, uh, memory access, or network access. So it lacks the capability of a full programming language. Okay? Although it's the most popular as of now, since JavaScript can be used in web application development, desktop application development. It can even be used for server-side web development. Uh, it is made possible by Node.js, which runs through the V8 engine, V8 JavaScript engine. So yan. So JavaScript siya yung parang pinaka-versatile na programming language as of now. Your React.js, AngularJS, Node.js, or Express.js, they are all written in JavaScript. Okay? Any question before we start? JavaScript
No, sir.
is also named, otherwise known as ECMAScript or ECMA script. Or sometimes you see it as ES, the ES versions or ECMAScript versions. The term for JavaScript is your ECMA script, okay, or ES. So what can JavaScript do? It can change the content of the HTML content of elements. It can change the HTML attributes or attribute value. It can add or remove attribute. So here we can turn on or turn the bulb. It can change HTML styles or the CSS. It can hide elements. It can show elements, and so on. So there, JavaScript provides power to your HTML document. JavaScript provides a front end. It provides front end power. Okay, so it provides programming capability to your front end. Take note that HTML and CSS does not do any computation, does not do any programming. So JavaScript makes it possible. But it says here Java and Java are completely different languages, both in concept and design. So you cannot associate Java with JavaScript. Mag-question kayo kung mayroong kayong gustong tanungin. You can just turn on your mic. Yes?
Sir, can GS remove an element?
Sorry, ano yan?
Sir, can GS remove an element?
Remove, yes, of course. So almost that you can see in your browser in a web page, it can be manipulated by JavaScript. Okay, remove an element, insert an element, create an element. What else? It can also fetch data from a server. It can do timer. It can uh, reload the page. It can go to another page by itself without the user intervention. It can play videos. It can change the source and so on. It can change an image. So where to put JavaScript? We use the script tag. So everything, if you want to use JavaScript, you have to use the script tag and then put all your JavaScript definition inside the script tag. Okay. So it says here all JavaScript example may use type attribute. So to be safe, you can just use script type equals text JavaScript. This is if you want your application or website to be accessible to even older browsers like Internet Explorer and the older versions of Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. So JavaScript function is a block of JavaScript code that can be executed when called for. A function can also be called when an event occurs, like a user click, a scroll, a keyboard type, a key down, or a key up. JavaScript in head or body. So you can place any number of scripts in an HTML document. It can be placed in the body or in the head section of HTML page or both. So when do we put a JavaScript in the head? So we put a JavaScript or we put a script in the head if we want the script to be executed first or to be loaded first before any element of the page is displayed to the user. Okay? Like for example, you want to fetch data first from a server, or you want to load, or you want to create these elements first by JavaScript before you display anything to the user, you can put it in the head, okay, section. So the reason why we are putting, why sometimes we need to put the script in the body is to prevent pag naglo-load kasi ang script or nagda-download ang script ng webpage natin, parang nag-i-stop yung downloading of other resources, like images. So it stops the loading of other elements and it tries to load the script first. So that is in the head, and then this is in the body. Usually if we try to put the JavaScript in the body, we try to put it right before the closing tag of the HTML body or the document body. Okay? Dito natin siya nilalagay. So that everything in the web page will be loaded first before the script will be loaded. Okay, this is used when you want your script or you want your web page to be loaded first before the script will be executed. Like for example, you want a form validation. So since form validation will not occur before before the user fills up the form or before the user submits the form, it's safe to put it in the body so that ayun, hindi niya kailangang i-load muna yung mga script before showing the form to the user. And then we can also put external JavaScript. So when creating external files, external JavaScript files, you have to use the file name, the file extension .js. In that case, you can add your external JavaScript file using this method. Source equals the location of the external file. Or you can also import from the JavaScript, from the script tag also. So just take note that if you are going to put in an external script, you don't have to use the script tag in the external file. So yan, it can also be a full URL if you want to get a script from a URL or a different domain. Okay, just like how we use Bootstrap before from a CDN. So we are going to put the exact URL. And then, for example, if you want to use a script located in a specific folder in your current website, then you have to put the folder name first and then the file name of the script. Any question before we proceed to the next?
No, sir.
Sir, my question was Kingston.
See?
My question shows up answers sa chat.
Okay, Kingston. Question, how do you use a single button to display 3 or more text? Yung example kasi dyan, isang beses lang pwede click yung button. 3 or more text, yung 3 or more paragraphs? Or how? Okay, 3 or more paragraphs. Okay, dami kasing, in programming kasi there are a lot of techniques or there are a lot of ways to do something. I answered this for one of your classmates before. Okay, in JavaScript, we also have arrays, we also have variables. So you can make your button to what can display or change the content of an element based on a counter, based on a variable, or based on the array. Okay? Maybe we can answer that later when we discuss other parts of JavaScript. So para hindi na lang So regarding the placement of JavaScript, are there any other question? Okay, so it seems wala. So output. Okay, writing into an HTML, display possibilities for JavaScript. We can write to an element using the .inner HTML property. It means the content of the element. We can output using document.write. It appends to the document itself, the content of the document. We can output using the .alert or just alert, which shows a dialog box. Or have you done C# before? It's just like a message box in C#, or in Java you have J option dialog, something like that. So that's your alert, and then console.log. It's the console. It outputs to the console of your browser. Hello, and can hear me? Parang nagkahang yung laptop. Okay. So yung console na sinasabi ko, dito siya nag-output. Bale, the console is really useful for debugging your application, since it does not show directly to the user unless they try to inspect or debug the web page. They will not see it, the console messages. So you can use console.log, console.error. It depends on how you want it to be displayed or how you want it to be categorized. By the way, this materialized CSS, it's a CSS framework for doing material. It's based on material design. It's like Bootstrap. It's a CSS framework, responsive front-end framework that is based on material design naman. It's based on material design from Google. Okay, so if you want material design like components, this is one of the option. Other option aside from Bootstrap. So meron siyang mga array polex. You have floating buttons. So based on material design, see materialize CSS. Anyway, I'll close this. Because I'm recording, kaya mabagal. Anyway, ayun nga, you can write into the browser. Okay, this is how the console looks like. So most of the debug features, the debug messages are showing here. So yeah, that's where you output. That's one of the possible output of JavaScript. Okay, so document or inner HTML is changing the content of the element. If you remember our CSS box model or the parts of an HTML element, so we have the head tag and then the attributes, and then we have the content and the closing tag. So document or the inner HTML changes the content of an element. Document that write is uh, mostly used for testing purposes only. If you want to write directly on the body, and then the alert confirm, and there's another one where you can get an input from the user too. So ayan, it's dialog boxes, and then console.log. So statements. So yan, alam niyo naman na computer program, a program, statements. So it's just like your other programming language. We have statements in JavaScript. Then the semicolon is you separate statements. In JavaScript, a line can be terminated or not by a semicolon. So pwede nyo i-skip yung semicolon dun sa end ng line. In that case, JavaScript will try to read the next line as part of the first line of the previous line, or it depends if the line is a complete statement, it just try to read that line as a statement. Okay? But to be safe, I suggest na lagyan nyo na lang ng semicolon. And then for the syntax, so variables are declared using var for older JavaScript. In ES 2015 or ES6, they introduced different ways to declare variables, like block scope, which is the let, and the constant, declaring constant, which is const. Pero if you are just starting, you can just use var. Take note that JavaScript is a loosely typed language, meaning there is no fixed data type. Okay? So every variable is a dynamic type. You can just declare a variable and then the variable name, and you can assign any data type to that variable. So literals, we have numbers, we have booleans, and we have string. Comments, single line comments can be started with double slash, and multiple line comments with slash, asterisk, and asterisk slash. I think same with Java. Any questions so far? Oh, it's because of the electric fan. Wait. Sila kasi aircon dito sa CCIT. Sa mga classrooms. I mean, hindi naman sira pero hindi magamit. Because of unstable voltage. Ayan, so variables. So it's ES 2015 that they introduced the let and the const. We will discuss about them later if we have more time. But right now you can be fine with just using var. So variable names must be unique names. They should start with a letter. They can contain letters, digits, underscores, and dollar signs. They must begin with a letter, although you can also begin with dollar sign or underscore. Okay. Then, of course, names are case sensitive. And then reserved words cannot be used as variable names, just like other programming language. Assignment operator is equals. For the syntax here, most likely similar to Java, except the declaration of variables and the dynamic data type. So, similar na siya sa Java. Just take note the variable scopes. We have only global and local scopes. Okay, local scopes can be declared inside a function, and global scopes are declared outside the function. We don't have block scope for var, meaning that a variable declared inside a block, inside an if, or inside a for loop can also be available outside. Okay, and then undefined. Wait. So you might be encountering undefined variables. So in JavaScript, um, your script or your program may still be able to continue when you try to use an undefined variable, meaning a variable that is not declared. Okay, you just have to properly handle it. So a variable declared without a value will have the value undefined also. So the variable name will have the undefined value after the execution of this statement. So when you declare a variable, it is also wise to initialize it if you don't want to uh, if you don't want to be checking for undefined values. Okay, in JavaScript you can redeclare variables. Maybe this is one of the difference with Java or C Sharp. So here you can redeclare a variable. Like for example, here var name, and then you can redeclare again var name. In this case, the variable name will still have the value Volvo after the execution of these statements. Okay. And then arithmetic for string concatenation, you can also use plus. Any questions so far? What if multiple variables like 10 or more? Uh, Why? What do you mean by multiple variables, Mr. Pilaes? Of course, you can declare any number of variables you want, diba? For any programming language, you can declare 1,000. Or better, you may want to use array. You may be thinking of declaring variables like separating them by comma. You can do that, but you can also do it line by line. JS files, multiple JS files, of course, you can have multiple JS files in an HTML file. You can have multiple script tags. You can have multiple external. Sino ba yung files ko dito? Open editors. Working next. Okay, this is an example. You have script, multiple script tags. These are multiple external script files. You can also create script here. You can create script here. You can create another script here. So, pwede lahat yan. Kahit na maglagay ka, for example, you have a div, and then you can have script here, pwede rin. Did I answer your question, Mr. Arconado? Okay, so concept of data types in JavaScript. So in programming, data types and okay, the difference in JavaScript and i-compare ko na lang siya with Java no, since you have finished your Java. I think you have used Java in multiple subjects also or C#. So in JavaScript, creating an object is as easy as uh, surrounding the definition by an open and closed curly bracket. Like for example, we declare an object obj equals, you can do it as easy as this one. Let's say name, okay, age, let's say 1. Okay, it's as easy as this to declare an object in JavaScript. Unlike in other programming languages that you have to create classes, that it should be an instance of a class. Since JavaScript is a loosely typed programming language, you can just declare an object without a class. You can have any attributes, any fields that you want. So that's your JavaScript object. Ayan, JavaScript types or variables are dynamic, meaning that if you declare a variable x, you assign it with a number, you can reassign it with a string. Okay? Or you can reassign it with an object. This is how dynamic types work. Okay, unlike your strictly typed programming languages like C Sharp, Java, Visual Basic also. So yeah, they are strictly typed languages. But you can, since there is also an advantage for the strictly typed languages compared to dynamic type, there is a superscript of JavaScript which is called TypeScript, wherein you can have strict types for variables. If you have heard of TypeScript. So for string, um, you can declare them, you can initialize them using double quotes or single quotes. Just in case you want to have a single quote inside, you have to surround your string with a double quote. Just in case you want a double quote inside, you have to surround your string with a single quote. JavaScript has only one type of numbers. They can be written with or without decimals. So although we have float and integer, but you can just assign them to a variable. Take note, the variables are dynamic. Okay, Boolean, we have true or false. And then arrays in JavaScript are just numeric arrays. We cannot have associative arrays. Okay, so arrays can easily be declared like this. So meaning we have three elements. So unlike in Java that you have to declare the number of elements, here you just declare the variable name and then the array, the contents of the array. Okay? Any questions so far? Is this your first time to encounter a dynamic type language? So may mga advantages siya in terms of uh, speed in writing your program. Meron din siya mga disadvantages when it comes to understanding or when it comes to security also. Okay? So since dynamic type languages can have their data type change, sometimes you might be tempted to, for example, this is an array for now, and then we change it to a string later, and then trying to access the one of the element of the array, so you will have an error. So objects, the type of operator is used to find the type of a JavaScript variable. So the type of operator can also be used to check if a variable is undefined. So meaning it is not declared or it is not initialized to a value. In JavaScript, null is nothing. It is something that doesn't exist. So unfortunately, in JavaScript, the data type of null is an object. Wala pa namang question. So functions, of course, it does a block of code. So declaring a function in JavaScript is just function and then the name of the function and then the parameters. So JavaScript function syntax, ayan. Okay? Then function invocation. Another way to declare a function is you can also declare a function as a variable. Okay? Or you can assign a function to a variable. And you can pass that function as a parameter of another function. To invoke a function, you need to use the open and close parentheses. Okay, alam niyo naman na kung paano mag-work ang function, di ba? Based on your previous programming subjects. Let's apply those events. So HTML events are things that happen to HTML elements. HTML events can be something the browser does or something a user does. So here are examples of events. An HTML web page has finished loading. Okay, this is a browser event. An HTML input field was changed. It can be a user generated event. An HTML button is clicked. So HTML allows event handler attributes with JavaScript code to be added to HTML elements. So you can execute a JavaScript code by um, putting the JavaScript function or code in the event attribute of your HTML elements, like this one button on click. So if you click on this button, it will execute this code. Okay, or you can register an event handler to an element by using JavaScript itself. So para hindi to keep our HTML code clean, we can remove this and just put the event handler in the JavaScript definition. Okay? So I think that will be all for today para mas madaming time yung gumawa ng project. Any questions so far sa JavaScript? Um, Let me just try to answer yung pero hindi dapat dito. Um, let's just do the try. Try it ni Glitters calls. This is button. Okay, let's just try this one. So using a single button to display three texts, sabi niya kanina, you can just do this, id. Okay, let's create another one. Div id equals div1, div1, div, okay, div2 and div3, div2, div3. Okay, pwede rin natin gawin ito. Show div. Show div. Div. Ayan. Let's declare a var here. I equals 1. Div plus I. That style, that display block. So yan, we have a variable I which is equal to 1, and then we select the element by their ID, div plus the value of I, and we set the display to block. We try to run this one. Oops. Show div. Okay, now it's showing div1. So it's just showing div1 since our variable is not incremented. So what if we just add here I++ to increment the value of I? So run, then show div1, div2, div3. We might want to select here the other divs to be get elements by name div that style that display equals none. So there are a lot of ways in programming. Ay, nangyari. It displays all to none and it displays one to block. Is it
Baka di ID, sir.
ready? One. Oops. Okay. We're showing earlier, right? Even give two needs. It's not showing. Now this is the reason why I need the console sometimes, but I'm not sure if the error is showing here. So if there's an error, something will not work. This is the difference of JavaScript and Java or C sharp. So if there's an error in Java, it will not run. If there is an error in JavaScript, it still displays the ayan. It's because I am trying to access the display of a series of elements. Okay. So ayan, you can see here the error. You cannot set property display of undefined. You can even click here. So it says here that query selector all div is undefined because it may be an array. So we can set here document prev equals document dot element get element by id div plus I. If prev is if type of prev equal to defined, again we set prev dot style dot display equals none. So div 1, div 2, yun yung makuha yung anything. Ayan, undefined na naman. Okay, so as I have mentioned earlier, there are a lot of ways. We can go back to our document that query selector all and we can loop. Okay, we can do a loop. So for document for var div in document that query selector all. Pero masyado na tayong itatagal. Div. pa rin. Hiding or siding. Okay, another way is to declare is to use a for loop instead. Equals 1 and is less than 3. Then or equal to 3, then n plus plus. Then you can get your uh, I'm using I here. So yan. Div 1, div 2, div 3. You can also put the contents in an array. Like for example, var r equals div 1, div 2, div 3. And then you can just set document.getElement by id dot inner html equals your r plus plus. This is just your div 1. It is not showing. Oops, it's undefined. Okay. So yeah, there are a lot of ways to do something in programming. So you are not limited to a single thing or two or three. There are a lot of ways to do something. Okay? Any questions so far? Ang tagal nung time natin dun. So that's just an introduction of JavaScript. We will have a deeper discussion of JavaScript I think in the finals. So JavaScript will also be used to access your HTML5 added APIs like the web API, history API, storage, and geolocation API. And I think we will have a short discussion of jQuery also, just in case you might need it in the future. So yeah, marami pa tayong lessons, and then we will have PHP. So which will be the server side? Right now we are just in the front end. So si PHP ang magiging back end programming language natin. Okay? Later na lang. Just ask questions. You can just ask from the group or you can also do a PM. Pero I suggest na naglalagay kayo sa group so that everyone will also be informed if the information is for everyone. Okay? Para matuto tayong lahat. So any more questions, sir? May deadline po ba yung midterm project? Okay, regarding deadlines, sa ngayon wala pa kaming sineset na deadline unless they force us or they will give us a deadline for the submission of grade. So you can take your time doing your project, but as much as possible, the earlier the better. Empty web page pa lang po. It's, what do you mean empty? Design pa lang. Yes, it's a design. I mean, it's a design using your HTML, CSS. If you want to use JavaScript, can also be added. Fully functional. I don't require back-end capability for now. Okay, since we haven't discussed PHP, so I don't require back-end capability, like storing in databases. If you want to use local storage, JavaScript, you can, but I don't require it, and I don't require back-end capability. Okay? Any other question from the other people? Multiple pages. Yes. What have you thought as your project in finals? For example, if it's an e-commerce, you should have, for the front end, you should have the products page, the list of products. You can have the cart page, the checkout page, and probably a thank you page or the purchase done page. And then you should have, for the back end, you should have the product list, the add product, the edit product, and then the list of orders. Front end ng admin pages. Okay, pwedeng tables lang with the possible links or buttons for adding or editing. Any other questions? Okay, so since there are no more questions, your midterm exam will probably be posted by next week. I will not require a time for you to do the exam, but there will be a time limit for the questions. Okay, so since there are no more questions, So thank you everyone for listening and for participation. So see you again next meeting. Have a nice weekend.
Sige, sir.